Then I would say that if you're still in the early stages of honing your concept and refining it, surround yourself with others who also are these persona experts, who understand this demographic. I'm also going to say something a little counterintuitive. It's like the first myth of the first mover. I am not one who's big on asking users at this stage. You want to talk to your users once you're out there and you refine it, or something's not working, you want to figure it out later. But at the beginning stage, I am not a fan of asking people, hey, what's missing? What do you need? And I think it was Henry Ford. Do you know the quote I'm about to say? He was famously said, if you had, do you know it? It's about the car.
The car or the horse.
Yeah. Exactly. He said, if I had just asked people before I built the Model A, if I had just asked people, what do you guys want? They would have said they wanted a faster horse, right? So that's my point. And Steve Jobs famously has been quoted, and I'm going to mangle this quote, but it's something along the lines of, look, we don't ask people what they want. We create it. We have a very strong hypothesis. This is going to be innovative. This is value add. And then we tell them that they want it. So that's an extreme, but they've been very successful. So again, I go back to can you yourself understand the user pain, create well enough to create a great product for them? Can you then surround yourself with others who can understand that segment even deeper? That's also very important. And then once you've gotten some, then I think you do the SWOT analysis. I do believe in doing things like SWOT analysis.
Okay. Particularly in the tech space, there are all kinds of sort of methodologies and tools that people have used, like Lean Startup, Business Model Canvas. Are there any tools that you use sort of to kind of help accelerate your learning at the startup stage?
I'm a big believer in a couple of 3 tools, and I think they all overlap some of the things that you said, and I'm not cool like you guys are, so I'm not up to speed on the latest, but I know that we do a lot of, we use the sprint model, where we never, we have a high-level roadmap and a long-term plan that might tell us what we're trying to do each quarter, and it might go out 3 quarters, or maybe a year. But in terms of how we actually manage the team, we do sprint planning, where each sprint is only 2 weeks. And all we got to talk about is just all the things, small things, that you and I need to do in the next 2 weeks. We just got to prioritize that, and we have a date. It's 2 weeks, so you can see it, and you can plan for it, and we just got to succeed at that. And so we have these small goals, and so each 2 week chunk is a sprint, and you manage to that. And that I feel like that's the right rhythm. It also forces you, I can talk about things like rhythm in the business, that as your company gets more mature, you're rolling along further with a larger team. Getting into a healthy rhythm where people feel productive and you feel like that there's output has all kinds of benefit, both morale and for investors who feel like that, oh, okay, you know what you're doing because every 2 weeks there's something new that you're telling me about. Right. So a 2 week sprint is really good for all kinds of reasons. I like to be very, very rigorous in terms of prioritization and focus. So tools like Jira is I think I'm sure there's a free version, and if you like the extra bells and whistles, you pay a little extra. But it's a web tool that everybody can use. And there are many of these. I mean, you don't have to. In fact, forget that I said Jira, because if you're a small team of like 2 or 3, that it's overkill. But the point is that you have a way that everyone on the team can look at that tells you what's important and what's not important. So it just makes you organized, and everything has an owner, everything has a due date. You can attach other elements to it, so you can, new people that join the team can figure out what's going on. So using those kinds of tracking prioritization tools, even if it's I've just used a spreadsheet. Actually, that's all I did with Fitbits. Those tools kind of didn't exist. Very many. So I just used a spreadsheet that I just updated every few days to sort our priorities. Thirdly, I like the concept of daily stand-ups. And that is, I think, I used to joke that the team that plays together stays together. The team that eats together stays together. And I feel the same. The team that meets together stays together. So if every morning it's just you do a 5-minute stand-up meeting, and again, it's sort of like the 2-week sprint where you don't feel like you have to have this agenda when you have the meeting. There's no overhead or burden on your part to do anything special. We just meet for 5 minutes. And let's go around the room. How are you doing? Yeah? What are you working on today? Great. Do you need help with anything? No? Good. Next. And you could just go around the room. 5 minutes, just get into a rhythm, a habit of doing that every morning. It also gets people in the office at a certain specific time.
I think
we do it at 9:30 every morning.
It's helpful because I think it makes everything manageable.
Yeah.
And it makes, we can figure out what we need to do for the next 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
You know
right,
what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Is that answering the nature of your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's helpful. So we're going to be designing user experiences from scratch. I'd love to get your thoughts on, some truths, particularly in the web space and the mobile space. There's some principles that you kind of live by when it comes to customer experiences or user experiences.
Yeah. I used to give a talk that's everything I learned in user experience I learned staying at a hotel. But the problem is that I can't remember any of that talk. So it's been too long. So you can look it up online, and there's a nice video of it, I think. What I do remember is that I think user experience is incredibly important. I think the war or the fight for users, for traffic, for people to love your site and to use your site is won or lost based on the decisions you make in user experience. So some truths that I believe in when it regarding user experience is always try to reduce seams between verbs. So if right now, I know it's kind of a difficult thing to say. You might stand for a second.
Go ahead.
Yeah. There are all kinds of user activities, right? Yeah. Say. I'll give an example from PicMonkey. What are all the verbs associated with a photo? You can upload it. So that's an action. You upload the photo. Grab it from your hard drive or your phone. Okay. You can edit it, right? After you've uploaded, you can edit it. You then save it. That's another verb. You then share it. You post it to Instagram, Facebook, whatever, Pinterest. You can email it. You can print it, right? You win if you can converge some of those verbs. That's the secret of PicMonkey's success. Instead of kind of having a modal experience where you kind of take the user from one verb to another verb, and then when you're done with that, it's all linear, and then you go to this one, have an experience where, hey, look, you're editing it. Chances are you're going to do the next 3 verbs. So now we do in our UI. You can check it out. When you save the picture, you can actually. It's like a little poll. I think it's like a pull down now, where you can also print or share, or we just kind of collapse some of these actions. So you can do multiple things at once. Even just take share. We'll go one more atomic in this discussion. I love that on Instagram, that when you after you're done editing, and I hit the button that says share, I can choose to kind of just also, I can simultaneously cross-post it. I'm doing Instagram, I could cross-post it to Facebook and Twitter. I think maybe they got something else too, but at least those 3. So that's another example of where you reduce the seams or gaps between different verbs. So I think that's just kind of a high-level concept that I would encourage you to think about. Sometimes that is the difference between two ideas or two two apps that purport to do the same thing, but one does a much better job there, and that's the one people use. So that's one truism. The second one is make it beautiful and invest a lot of effort into it. It is user experience needs to be delightful, and Don Norman, who is kind of the guru of product design, and the first time I was at Google, I had the good fortune of reporting to Marissa Meyer, and I know she was a huge fan of Don Norman, and so I learned a lot from that experience. And he talks about this concept of wow, love, and delight. He tried to answer. He wrote a book called Emotional Design, I think it's called, and he talks about why is this tea kettle the most popular tea kettle in the world? What is it about it? Right? It's very functional, but so is this other one. What also happens to be very beautiful, and it's functional, and its form and function marry in a really great way. So he talks about how important forging an emotional connection with your users, your customers is. That's true of brands. That's true if you're an insurance company or an Instagram. You have to feel like, this is pretty neat, this is pretty cool, or this is fun, or this is funny,